Happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. We are back at it again today with some Killing Floor 2. The map we were at is Farmhouse, and the level we are on is hard, and we're doing 7 waves. So, without further ado, let's get into some paranormal activity. So, I looked up several articles about what are the signs of the paranormal. And I came up with, well, I didn't come up with, all of the articles kind of had a consensus. The top 3 signs of paranormal activity are feeling like you're being watched, which whenever I've experienced this kind of thing, I'm not counting it because that could be due to so many different reasons. You know, people can feel like they're being watched because of anxiety, paranoia, sleep deprivation. You just watched a scary movie. So I don't actually count any times that I've felt like I've been watched, because that's a psychological thing in all honesty, and that could be explained by science. But that's one of the reasons, signs of paranormal activity, that all 5 articles that I looked up agreed on. Another one is feeling, a sudden and inexplainable change in temperature, or like there's electricity. And I have had one experience where this was like extreme. I'm not going to tell that story today. I might tell that one another time, because that was paired with like 5 other different signs, which that day was like really scary. But we're not going to talk about that one today. We're going to talk about other ones. So that's another one that all 5 articles were down with. And then another one is hearing unexplained whispers, footsteps, thuds, all those kinds of things. And I have experienced those documented 3 different times, but also I've experienced those kinds of things multiple other times, and so now I just kind of ignore it whenever it happens, because I don't know, I just ignore it now. And then the other ones that a lot of the articles, but like not all of them, were saying that are signs of paranormal activity are household objects that are mysteriously disappearing or moving, all that kind of stuff, which that is what I have the most experience with. I have documented 17 experiences that I still don't know what a logical explanation for them can be, because I only ever write down my paranormal experiences if I've gone through all of the theories and options as to why it's not paranormal and why it is something based in, our world. But yeah, so another thing that they also classify as seeing shadows and movements out of the corner of your eye. I've only ever documented one of those, and that is also associated with the time that I had the cold temperature thing going down. Generally, if I do see things out of the corner of my eye, I don't document it, because, that's another psychological thing that's really easy to explain away because of freaking science, man. Another one is feeling of being touched by unseen hands. Again, this is another one that's psychological. I actually watched a video about this. It was really interesting. Scientists were able to simulate the feeling of being touched by a ghost with like this little robot thing, and it was just really cool. If I can remember, maybe I'll put a link to that video in the description. But anyways, whenever I have those kinds of feelings like, oh, there's a cobweb, or oh, did something just brush up against me, like what the heck, I don't really count it because of psychological things. The body does weird things. Another one that some of the articles said was common, is doors opening and closing. And speaking of that, I can get right into one of my stories. So there was this one time when I was like making apple cider in the microwave or something, and I was gonna go like blow dry my hair, and so for some reason I distinctly remember leaving my door open so that when I was done blow drying my hair, it would just be easier for me to go out the door and get my apple cider, because the door would be open. And so while I was blow drying my hair, when I was done, the door was closed and nobody else was home, and my door is actually kind of broken, so it can't swing open, and it can't on its own, and it can't really like close on its own because it's kind of broken. And so that happened, and again, I was home alone, and I had a very distinct thought process as to why my door was open, so I don't know why that was closed. And I think that was like April of... But yeah, so there's that story. And another one that's apparently super common, well, not super common, but this is one that I think I would trust, but I've never experienced it, was unusual smells that you're not supposed to be there or whatever. But yeah, now that super duper freaking long explanation as to why a bunch of the signs shouldn't be trusted, let's get into some of my experiences. So the first experience I have documented was in February of 2017, and basically the story was I had taken my phone charger out of my room, and it was, the thing you plug into the wall, and then the cord and my phone and all of that. And I brought it back into my room, and I put it on the floor for some reason by my closet. And then I left the room, and then when I came back, it was the box, so the wall component was on the other side of the room, like on my windowsill, and the cord was still where I left it by my closet, but before I left my room, the little box thing and the cord thing were attached together by my closet, which is on the other side of the room from my windowsill. And in my house, people don't go into each other's rooms, and so just assume that like pranks and that kind of thing is not a thing that would ever happen in any of these stories, just based off of my family dynamic. So that was the first experience that I ever experienced, and I was like, WTF, why is my cord in the spot I left it, and then the wall charging component unit by my windowsill? Like, what the heck? So that was the first one, February 2017. The next one I think was about 2 weeks later, which was in March, and this one isn't as elaborate, but so what happened is I had a book and I had a bookmarker on top of my book, and I set my book down on the ground, and then I walked like to a bookshelf or something to get another book, and then I turned around to grab the bookmarker off the top of my book that was on the ground, and the bookmarker wasn't there anymore. How? I literally, the book was on the ground, and the bookmarker was on top of the book. It's not like the bookmarker could have fallen. But anyway, so I checked like inside of the book and around the book, and then I checked the bookcase to be like, well, dang, did I take the bookmarker to the bookcase? And I never found that bookmarker. Don't know what happened to that. Alright, and another experience with things being in places where they shouldn't be, or not where I left them, is, about a week later in March, about like 7:30 in the morning, and also, by the way, I'd been sleeping with my knife because I was scared, so anyways, early in the morning, about like 7:30ish, I got up to like go to the bathroom, and since it was light outside, I didn't feel like I needed to sleep with my knife anymore, and so I set it down somewhere out in the open, just in my room. It wasn't in one of the usual places I set it down, but it was just somewhere like, say, like a desk, or I don't know, a desk, or maybe like on a shelf of a bookcase or something like that. And then after I went to the bathroom, I, went back to bed as teenagers do for like 3 more hours, and then the first thing I did was, when I woke up, was I looked for my knife, and I could not find it anywhere, which was really weird because like I remember setting it out purposely out in the open so that it would be easy for me to find later, which didn't happen. And then a day later I found it, and the knife was open, and it was on top of my bookcase that is by my door, and the blade was hanging off of the edge of the top of the bookcase. And like, okay, I'm getting chills like remembering this because it was kind of like scary. And also I remember closing the knife before I, set it out in the open or whatever the previous day, because it's just weird to leave your knife open. Like, what kind of a psychopath does that when you put it away? But then also, my other point, which is like really big, is why would I have groggily set my knife open, blade hanging off of the edge, off the top of a bookcase? Like, I would have had to reach my arm up all the way and set it on top of there and position it very specifically in order to do that. And I don't sleepwalk or anything. I used to when I was like, say, like a little kid, but I don't sleepwalk. And I remember putting my knife out in the open and then going to the bathroom and then going back to bed. So that was actually really scary because I was like, what the hell? Like the knife totally could have fallen on me and it could have cut me or something. Like, that's scary. Okay, anyways, I think I will end this video with one last story that is a little more lighthearted. And this one happened actually 2 days ago, which is really odd because I haven't really had that many paranormal experiences since maybe later 2017, besides for like when I've heard stuff at night and maybe have felt things here and there, but I haven't really paid too much attention to things because I've just kind of gotten used to it when things have been happening, or like, I rationalize, obviously. But this is something that I couldn't rationalize, and I tried really hard to because I thought through all the options. But anyways, here's the story. So right now I have a color changing light bulb as my desk light, and I have color changing lights wrapped around my bed, so fairy lights. And these additions to my room are relatively new, and they're maybe like a week old, 2 weeks old at the most. And I've developed a habit of keeping the remotes on one particular spot on my keyboard, and I always put them there. And then I have like maybe one other spot where if I don't put it there, I put it in the other spot. Like, I'm really good about this habit. And so on the 29th of this month, 2 days ago, I went to turn on my lamplight and the fairy lights, but I only saw the lamplight remote, which I was like, okay, I mean, I don't know, maybe I misplaced it. Which I don't do, but I was like, okay, well, maybe I did that for some reason. And so then I looked around my room, I looked everywhere, and then eventually I found it in the electronics bin under my keyboard. So I was like, oh, okay, it just like fell down. But the remote not being in the right place isn't the weird part. The weird part was, originally I was like, oh, I can't find the remote. I looked for it for a little bit. I couldn't find it. And so then I just like sat back down in my chair and I was thinking about what the next YouTube video I should do should be. And while I was sitting there thinking, my fairy lights turned on by themselves. I hadn't found the remote. I didn't know where it was. And the fairy lights, they stayed on. Like, they didn't flicker on, or they just stayed on. They just turned on by themselves. And again, these are like a week old and they haven't glitched or anything. Like, they're super new. And they also, by the way, they had 5 out of 5 star recommendations for Amazon and stuff. And so there is the possibility that there was a technical difficulty, but I seriously doubt it since they were really new. And when I found the remote, I thought, oh, hey, maybe the remote somehow turned on. And so I tested turning the lights on and off from the exact same spot I found the remote, and they do respond with the on and off button, since the little compartment that controls the lights going on and off was really close to where the remote was. But there was no way the remote could have actually turned them on by it being bumped or something from something that was in my electronics bin. Because when I played with the remote, I tested how much pressure was needed to apply to the button to make it work, and there's nothing in that box that could have applied enough pressure to trigger the lights to go on, especially because it was just extremely precariously on top of all of the electronics. Like, there was nothing pushing on it. So yeah, anyways, that was the most recent paranormal, well, one of them. There was another paranormal experience I had because it was weird and I can't explain it. But that is it for today's video. You might get a part 2 because honestly, I have 17 paranormal experiences and some of them are actually really freaking scary. Not like super duper scary, but for me, they're a little scary because what the heck. But yeah, we had some things move around and some lights turn on for this video. So let me know if you want a part 2. I definitely have enough material for a part 2, probably honestly a part 3 as well. So I hope everybody has a fantastic Halloween. Stay safe. Please do not use Ouija boards. Please do not use demon boards. Especially do not use demon boards. Please don't do that. And please don't go on antagonizing spirits in haunted sounding places, because that is just rude. But anyways, that's all we got for today. I hope everyone has a safe Halloween. And if you're dressing up, let me know what you are in the comments. But yeah, again, happy Halloween, and until next time.